Why? Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. My name is Mr. Dogbot333, and welcome back to HoI for the newer last days of Europe as, well, now, the Far Eastern Soviet Republic. Last video, we took out Magadan, we took out Father Men up here, and a slightly annoying little display. But we managed to consolidate control over Far East. And now, we gotta figure out what we want to do for the revolution. We have a Marine over here, that's cute. I think we also have the rest of Soviet fleet over here, which is nice. Some boats. Actually have a naval capacity as a warlord, which I'm not used to having. There, we're gonna go ahead and do a new Red October. The fascist heirs of the White Harbin have been defeated, with their would-be hetmans and Vols driven before us in disgrace. The madmen of the Arctic Circle, addicted to their opiates reaction, have been similarly annihilated. Meanwhile, our brothers and sisters in Aldan, who stood so bravely against the tyrant Yagoda, have joined with us. The vast expanses of the Russian Far East have been united under our cause. A new revolution, however improbable, has begun, and we are ready to fight for it. Excellent. So we have the reunification of Russia, which we'll get into soon enough, I'm sure. We also have a few new things over here, which I'm curious about. The Red Navy and its ships were largely destroyed, scuttled, or left to rot into scrap metal following the national collapse of the Soviets following the Second World War. Once anarchy gripped Siberia in the 50s, last vestiges of the Pacific Fleet were either destroyed or reduced to piracy around Kamchatka. Now the order has finally been restored, we have the means to rebuild our navy. The world sees Russia much like it would regard a sunken battleship, a once mighty vessel left to rot and decay at the bottom of the ocean. While a navy may not be the most practical investment given our circumstances, putting ships to sea will help us protect our trade, and for what it's worth, it will show the world that we recovered from the depths we pushed, by proving that we can fend for ourselves once more at land, air, and across the Pacific Ocean. Fair enough. Looks like we had our debt wiped out, which is pretty neat. Let's go ahead and create a state fishing fleet. It's gonna increase our monthly population as well as reduce our monthly poverty. That's gonna be a pretty good one to do. We could also recover some Soviet-era schematics, so I'll get working on that. Also convert and sell some convoys. It's a good thing I'm working on building those up right now. Meanwhile, these have some new icons, which I'm just noticing now. That's really cool. Our poverty is really bad, so let's start on poverty relief programs. Then we'll probably repurpose some Soviet infrastructure from there. Ooh. That's the autosave, right? We have more military factories going than we do dockyards. Oh god, yeah, we're struggling a bit there. I think it's the overextension of our administration. That's not helping matters one bit. Ooh. Geologists have presented us with an interesting proposal. Within the archives of Irkutsk, plans for a survey of northern parts of Satka have been collecting dust. They're expected to find diamonds and other valuable minerals there, but like so many other great ambitious plans, they were supposed to be part of a Siberian plan. This one too fell apart after the invasion of the Soviet Union. Now we have a chance to turn these plans into reality. What will likely be a long and costly endeavor, the mere prospect of finding a diamond deposit on the scale of Irkutsk is too tantalizing of an opportunity to miss out on. Whenever the state is ready to allocate resources towards a project, the Army's Engineer Corps stands ready to put their shovels into the hard, inhospitable ground. A glimmering light and desolate waste. Well, that gives us these two provinces. Very nice. We could begin with Satka expedition. Ooh. Despite the inhospitable nature, the northern parts of Siberia hold great amounts of untapped resources, particularly minerals. Soviet geologists expected to unearth these riches, and vast labor forces were deployed as part of the Siberian plan to make this a reality. The project was stopped due to the outbreak of the Second World War, and only the husk of the old project remains. Now that a legitimate Russian government has restored order in the region, we're able to resume the program and build upon the foundations that were left behind for us. It'll be a long and difficult task, but if we're successful, the vast riches and strategic infrastructure we'll gain from the project will prove vital in our efforts to reunite Russia. Yeah. Let's do it. First step of our journey is to restore the roads and railway connections built in the 30s back in acceptable conditions. To achieve this, we'll deploy military engineers into the region and have them do the heavy lifting so that our civilian experts can safely travel and work within the area. So that'll give us a good amount of infrastructure in the north, as well as some victory points. I am all for this. Also have something over here. Russia's history has been one tragically followed by another tragedy. For centuries, the people lived under the yoke of a czar who saw them as nothing more than the beast of burden for their own exploitative regime. Lenin tried to offer the people a respite from this historical trend, only be hindered by the White Army, and for his legacy to be stalled by the factionalism that followed the Civil War. Many thought that hope was going to be snuffed out for good when the Great Patriotic War ended in a victory for the fascists, but we've proven them wrong. Tyrants on both the left and the right have been driven out of the corners of Siberia, and we now have a chance to rebuild our union. However, the years of war and the rampant neglect of the plight of the people results in demographic catastrophe that we need to take steps to remedy if we're ever going to succeed with our revolution. With the only functional ports in Russia firmly under our control, we can begin to bring home Soviet emigres. And thanks to our improved farm yields and reclaiming the arable lands and more, we should have the relative food surplus needed to establish state policies to encourage Soviet women to have more children, though we may need to compromise on our deals to do so. Currently, we don't have an active repopulation program, as we never reinstated the policies practiced by the USSR after driving out the tyrant Yagoda from Irkutsk. We wish to, we can use a mix of economic incentives and political encouragement to encourage Soviet women to have more children without sacrificing our ideals for socialist equality. We currently don't have any active re-immigration programs. By creating social and economic incentives to return, and then have our agitprop spread information while targeting Soviet emigres and communities, we'll be able to encourage Soviet citizens to return home to the new home of our revolution. There we go. Tricky Dick has resigned. Dang, we reunified before the first election. I feel like this is quick, at least with the Far East. Granted, I don't know if I've seen the Far East reunify anytime since the latest update. But still. Who won over here? Ah, Hashpia. We'll see what ends up happening there. God, America, you're not having a good game. You really aren't. I think the West African War is... Actually, they're kind of doing okay, the West African War. They could pull something out, but I kind of doubt it. That night, the Opera House was at maximum capacity. Comrades on every floor and chair, the veteran fighters and the fresh, eager blood, gathered to hear Valery Mikhailovich Siblin speak. With him stood his comrades at arms. Mikhail Markiv, holding the first bottle of the night in his hands. Susanna Pechura, with her inseparable friend, Maya Ulyanskaya. And finally, Otto Braun. Siblin was the one to carry the winds of the convention that night, and thus he, for the blood-spattered terrorists of Russia and its tragic past, represented a beacon in the East. Comrades, the Central Committee bickers often, but today we are united. Today we are no longer the Buryatian Autonomous Soviet Socialist Republic. Today we are something more. We will represent the liberated and the liberators. We will show our increasing strength, and we will make a stand against the tyrant. Tonight, my friends, we will be known as a Far Eastern Soviet Republic. Cheers erupted across the entire opera house, so loud that Sebline almost wanted to cover his ears. Markiev slammed back with a powerful yet friendly thump of his hand, and grinned towards him with the ever-tempting bottle. The rest, Peturo, Ulyanovskaya, and Braun all remained content with silence. The old German merely cracked his satisfied grin, with Sebline and Peturo exchanging awkward glances that quickly mellowed out into traded smiles. As the shouting died down, Sebline turned once again to face the Central Committee. There's much to do, my friends, I will admit. I am somewhat afraid of the future. But I know that with the comrades that surround me, he said, motioning an arm to his allies beside and behind him, there'll be no reason to fear what is to come next. So tonight, comrades, tonight is the day to celebrate freedom. There we go. What do we want to rush down? How bad is, we're pretty overextended. I think we might go ahead. Let's start by raising the flag of Lenin. Amid the chaos of the war, tyranny, and calamity, the ideals that drove the great October Revolution have too often been forgotten. Now, though, we have the opportunity to resurrect them. Let us go back to the original writings of Comrade Lenin, without whom none of this would be possible, and build a new state based off his wise words. Through the ideas of Leninism, we can all rise from far stretches of Siberia and bring all of Russia into revolution once more. We'll do population programs. We'll get that ball rolling. And I think from there we'll go ahead, get the re-immigration efforts going as well. Caffeine flow. With the anarchy in the Far East finally coming to a close, we need to set on rebuilding our economy. Our situation is, to be put it frank, grim. We're suffering from a democratic catastrophe unlike any other in Russia, far less developed than the warlords in the West, owing to the historical neglect of our region. Or to stand a chance at uniting the Russian lands under our banner, must embark on a project of rapid economic and industrial growth. With roughly half a decade to undo countless years of underdevelopment, we don't have a moment to waste if we're to remedy our difficult situation. Let's get to work. I'm guessing that, that ties into the manpower issue. Because I remember hearing that we had a little... The Far East had a neat little mechanic added after the Magnon campaign to re-aid the Far East or help it develop. And it looks like this is it. Ooh. Looks like I can expand the state fishing fleet. So we'll go ahead and do that. Might be go ahead and begin fleet modernization as well. Like so many of the native folks the Tsarists had subjugated in their endless push to the Pacific, the Buryatia were proud but deeply wounded people, their way of life mercilessly crushed beneath marching boots, thundering locomotives, and roaring tanks treads. Every Buryat bore the pain within their hearts, and they longed to reassert themselves, to face the world again as a people unfettered by the bonds and traumas imposed upon them. And so it came as no surprise to Sabline when Markiv approached him to request that name be changed as a token of recognition to the part that Buryats had played in casting Ugoda and defeating the Tyrants of East. He suggested the name Ulan Uda, literally remaining Red Uda, named for the mighty river that had sustained the Buryat people for millennia before the arrival of the Russians. Seeing the Central Committee's focus turn away from Siberia, Markiv was afraid that the Buryats' part would soon be forgotten as the seat of the revolution moved ever westward. "My comrade," said Sabline, smiling broadly and laying a reassuring hand on Markiv's shoulders. "Without the might of the Buryats, we could never have brought Lenin's light back to Russia. The revolution will never forget your people, for I will not allow it. Ulan Uda, birthplace of the revolution." Okay. There's a flag of Lenin. Just to clarify, I can't do any of these yet. Let's go ahead and look at the state. Despite what some of Ugoda's propaganda leaflets may have said, we are not anarchists. A strong state will be necessary to success a revolution, and that state must be based on Leninist principles. There must be democracy based in the will of the people, and there must be ideological unity based in the Marxist science. Only through such a state apparatus can we achieve our ultimate triumph. That'll reduce our administrative strain. Margaret Thatcher as Prime Minister. Sorry about that, I had to do it. Kalinka, hello my friend. You joined at a fun time. How are ya? I'll go ahead and delete this guy. I like how we're speaking to I just met an unironic Woodrow Wilson defender on Discord. Like in what way? Saying he was a good president, or saying that he wasn't the worst president? Like what sort of level of defense? Saying he wasn't that bad. I mean, we're starting to relook at Wilson a lot as a president, and I gotta say, a lot of my thoughts and opinions of him have gone down. Probably the guy Scottish is arguing with a socialist American, so shitstorm. Oof. I'll do remigration efforts as well. Valery Mikhailovich Sabline paced on the grand stage of the opera house nervously, even though there were only 4 parts of eyes watching him, and the air felt empty, with the countless unfilled seats. Eventually he stopped up in the middle and sighed, turning his gaze to his comrades. As you all know, the ideology of ideological pushback in the previous Soviet Union was treating it with caution and advising party unity. His eyes swiftly moved back past Susanna Pechuro, but he could see her smile before he looked to Mikhail Markiv, who raised an eyebrow and crossed his arms. It looked like Markiv wanted to make a comment, but relented. Sabline took it as the opportunity to continue. I say that we should all explore the ways a man can think about the revolution. After all, should we not be so dogmatic as to outright deny and spit on the opinions that are not exactly our own? Markiv seemed to take in Sabline's words, but Malaya went down the sky cutting first, surprisingly enough. I believe, though Lenin was right in his choice of China party unity, back then we still had the entirety of Russia. Nowadays we need all we can get. Audubon merely snorted and shook his head. And what? Let reactionaries slip into our ranks? I don't believe we should let any of the silliness occur. This is our revolution, comrades, and we cannot let it be tainted by thoughts of revisionists. Just my thought. For once, Bashir was silent, softly biting her thumb and looking just the slightest bit anxious. Sabine could see that, but he also began to consider what the others had said. Comrade, your choice is final. You know my opinion, but we must make a move. This time is of the essence. Sabine nodded. With a breath that gave him enough time to think, he spoke. The choice must be made. Well, let's go ahead and look to the revolution for now. Who cares about Woodrow Wilson when Argentina won? True. Happy to see Messi. I'd take the dub. I'm sad that we didn't get to see Croatia make it, or Morocco make it. Would have been nice to see someone who hadn't won the World Cup win, but I'll take Morocco winning. I kind of just didn't want France to win, I'll be honest, just because they won last time, and, you know, give them some time. Let's get to the revolution. Comrades, we have not just founded a new state, we have not just conquered some petty warlords, we've declared a second October revolution. In the name of the workers, peasants, and soldiers of all Russia and beyond. It's of the utmost importance that we uphold the ideals of our revolution, or all of our work will come to naught, and Russia will remain forever divided. I am not, Foxen. I am not. We're getting both of these working. But yeah, I don't think just go back to Wilson a bit. I don't think he was a good president. Do worry that the view of him being a good president, not entirely true or fair, and that's kind of being going over. We might be going a bit too much far in the opposite direction and overstating some of his badness, at least when you compare him to other presidents. That's sort of my approach and thoughts on the matter. Not the good president. He has some major flaws. I think when you look at him compared to other presidents, not necessarily not the worst. Not good, but not the worst. Playing human right now, damn, they are OP. Okay. I was going to... Oh, right, we need to get working. We need to eventually get working on anti-air, but we need to get factories in order to allow us to build anti-air. And would you look at that? Camera over fucking one again. No one's surprised. This time, in the cold of the Opera House, there was much more positive tone between Sabline and the members of his Central Committee, as he shuffled a few papers from his briefcase to a table, letting the others gaze at it with curiosity. Sabline tapped against one paper. This, comrades, is a copy of the original Soviet decree to pass an 8-hour workday. The rest are various laws that were in effect during the original Soviet Union. Son Pachur nodded. Guessing you'll wish to re-implement this decree? What about the rest? The members of the Central Committee seemed to be content with silence, especially Maya Ulanovskaya. Only glanced down the papers with slow-burning interest. Sabine set the papers down. These other ones, the decrees on land, the decree on workers' control, and so on, we'll have to readjust to fit the new revolution. Mikhail Markiv looked at Sablinati. Readjust? Should they not be perfectly servable the way they are? Sabline merely shook his head. No, Comrade Markiv. Though one of Lenin's first acts was to abolish private property, we have no such luxury here. It will all remain, as of right now. But in due time, we will tear down the framework of capitalist institutions. Markiv eyed Sabline warily. The former Commissar smiled. Trust me, comrade. The revolution will not fail so long as we stand strong. Now, there are decrees to implement and work to be done. How are we doing poverty-wise? I wanted to check. We started at 80. We're little under 74% now. We're getting there. Still need some work, though. Definitely still need some work. Let's do decree on land. Land reform for many revolutionary governments is one of the highest priorities. It should be the same for us. While there's no need to engage in mass collectivization and displacement, Far East is hardly Lord's most productive agricultural region. As such, agricultural here should be made more efficient. More plans to financial assistance and materials should be sent to peasants to expand their production, and farming plots should be organized into more orderly arrangements. This way we can use what we have with less waste and produce more calories per acre. Armies march on their stomachs, but nations live on them too. Very true, very important issues. Our healthcare is just kind of not developing at all. Which isn't the best, but what are you gonna do? Gonna save up a little bit more power. I think that goes, there goes Kemerovo. Let's go ahead and repurpose Soviet infrastructure. That'll give us some nice bonuses to some areas, as well as some extra infrastructure, especially in some areas where I think we need it most. Sagani. Well, I think I'm going to end it for you two people. So thanks always for watching. Like if you like it, dislike if you didn't. Hit me comments, feedback, and certainly in the comment section below. I read all comments, get appreciated on feedback you might have for me. Hit the sub button if you want to keep updated with uploads. I try to upload every weekday, as well as occasionally Saturdays. Yeah. If you want to see me do stuff live, like this series, for example, check out my Twitch down in the description box below, as well as a couple other links are down there as well if you want to check those out. That's really it for now, my friends. Thank you for watching. My name has been Mr. Doggo333. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.